I am a Bendigo Adelaide customer. I'm also a shareholder, but I'm also an aggrieved customer. I just want to raise, with the interim report last year on the 28th September 18, you provided a response to the Financial Services Royal Commission. And in that, I'm only going to touch on a few points because it was quite extensive. And in that you say that from our perspective, we believe that the community expects that banks will strive to act honestly and fairly, listen to customers and respond to their needs, act for the long-term benefit of community, derive a fair return on the shareholder capital provided by the community. In seeking to deliver on those expectations, banks should aim to meet the following standards. And amongst those, you say protect customers from unfair terms and conditions and fees, assist customers when they are in difficult times and take account of individual circumstances, including unforeseen hardship, and also continually working to protect customers from fraud and increasingly cyber crimes. Sorry.
Do you disagree with some of that?
No, I just have it. Just let me finish. Sorry. Then it goes on to say, of course, we do not always meet the community's expectation, but we endeavour to do so. We also acknowledge that the Commission has identified areas where we need to improve. I then happened to come across a report through the Royal Commission by the ISS. If people don't know who the ISS are, it's the Institutional Shareholder Services, and they are a governance advisory service. And in their report, they say that there's a report re Bendigo's key takeaways for the annual report 2018. It does state that the company admitted to the Commission that it had mishandled an episode of fraud, overcharged fees, underpaid interest, and inappropriately handled a number of loans to drought and flood-affected Queensland cattle farmers and overcharged thousands of customers for agricultural products. So now that you come under BEAR, which is the Banking Executive Accountability Regime, if people aren't aware of that, I wanted to know if you have figures of how many breaches have been reported to APRA through these admissions of failures of Bendigo Bank, because also in the ISS report, there's a quality score. And under governance, it says that the quality score for Bendigo Bank is red at an 8, and the board structure is red at a 9. So as a shareholder and as customers, I would find that quite concerning. I just wanted to know what your views are on that.
Well, on all the statement about what we see our role in the community is, I think you're not disagreeing with. On the instances of when we went back and looked at everything, we came up with mistakes, and that was all led through and discussed at the Royal Commission. So I'm not, that's there. The ISS things, Tony, can you?
Yes, the ISS is the proxy advisor to a lot of the institutional shareholders, and they're not my favourite of them, not least because they have very different views to us. And a simple illustration of that is that they don't like anything in long-term incentives other than total shareholder return. So we say that an overemphasis in remuneration on total shareholder return is one of the core problems for the banking industry. That if you just strive to reward executives for the outcome for one group of stakeholders, being shareholders, it does create problems. And that's particularly true with the weighting into STIs, into the short-term incentive programs. If it's just about an individual's performance that they're completely in control of, they'll pull levers that cause them to earn that money, and it can have adverse consequences on other stakeholder groups.
Yeah.
They like all of those sorts of things. So there's differences between their views and ours. Another illustration is term. We think duration on a board is important, and the point that was made before about Robert's term on the board we see as incredibly important, and Robert leaving takes a large lump of the organisational's corporate memory out of the organisation and creates a risk to shareholders. They see that sort of duration as a problem. They see David Matthews' involvement in the community banking network, which he was one of the driving minds of. They see that as a negative and say that he should not be on the board because of that. They vote against or recommend voting against in those instances. So there's lots of things where we disagree. We understand their mark, we look at it, we think about it, but we don't agree with a lot of their judgments.
Yeah.
We think that they've got a very distorted view on some issues.
It might be distorted, but it actually is an evidence document that's part of the Royal Commission and available to the public. So that's why I brought it up.
I think this is going on quite a long time.
It's actually not. It's once a year we get to talk before the board. And I realise it's your last one, but you have been here for 30 years, which they classify as an excessive tenure. And with all the misconducts and everything that have happened over the years, they've been under your watch. So it is actually very critical to talk about it because it's not talked about or reported in the annual report. And shareholders need to be aware because their shareholding percentage is down because of what has happened. I mean, remediation, I think in 2018 was only, got my figures somewhere, 0.5 million, and this year we're looking at 16 point something million. That's a horrendous jump. Horrendous. So what will it be next year and the year after as a fallout of the GFC, which you were part of because you were still here. So to me, I'm sorry, I have to hold you accountable because I am a victim of the bank. Thank you.
Thank you.